The story of Rich Dad and Poor Dad. In a small town where dusty roads met big dreams, lived a boy named Ion. He was curious by nature, always asking questions about life, money, success, and the future. Ion was lucky in a unique way. He grew up learning from two fathers. One was his real father, whom he lovingly called Poor Dad, and the other was his best friend's father, whom he respectfully called Rich Dad. Both men were honest, hardworking, and deeply cared about Ion. Yet, their thoughts about life and money were completely different. These differences quietly shaped Ion's future. Poor Dad's world. Poor Dad was a highly educated man. He worked as a government school teacher and was respected in society. He believed strongly in education, degrees, and job security. Every morning, he woke up early, dressed neatly, and left for school with his bag of books. One evening, Ion asked him, "Father, why do we have to worry so much about money?" Poor Dad smiled gently and said, "Son, money is important, but stability is more important. Study hard, get good marks, find a secure job, and you will never suffer." Poor Dad believed that hard work and honesty were the keys to success. He warned Ion about business risks and often said, "Money can make people greedy. A safe job is better than chasing wealth." At the end of every month, Poor Dad carefully planned expenses. Bills, rent, groceries, everything was written in a notebook. If money was short, he became stressed but never complained aloud. He believed this was life. Rich Dad's world. Rich Dad, on the other hand, was very different. He had not completed higher education, yet he owned small businesses in the town, a grocery store, a repair shop, and later, a small rental building. He dressed simply and spoke calmly. He never rushed, even when others panicked. Rich Dad believed that money should work for you, not the other way around. One afternoon, when Ion visited his friend, Rich Dad called him and said, "Sit with me, Ion. Let me ask you something. Do you want to work for money all your life, or do you want money to work for you?" Ion was confused but curious. Rich Dad continued, "School teaches you how to be a good employee. Life teaches you how to think. Both are important, but most people learn only one." Unlike Poor Dad, Rich Dad encouraged mistakes. If you fail, you learn. If you fear failure, you remain poor in thinking. Two answers to one question. One day, Ion asked both fathers the same question, "How do I become successful?" Poor Dad replied, "Study hard, get top grades, choose a respected profession, and save money." Rich Dad replied, "Learn how money moves. Learn skills, not just subjects. Invest in assets, not luxuries." Ion realized something important. Both fathers loved him, but they saw the world through different lenses. The first lesson: work to learn, not just to earn. During school holidays, Rich Dad offered Ion a part-time job at his grocery store. The pay was very low. Ion complained, "I work so much, but the money is little." Rich Dad smiled, "I know. I am not paying you to work. I am paying you to learn." He taught Ion about profit, loss, customers, suppliers, and patience. Ion learned how small decisions affected big outcomes. Poor Dad, however, was not happy. He should focus on studies, not waste time in a shop, he said. But Ion felt he was learning something school never taught. Fear and comfort. As years passed, Poor Dad remained in the same job. His salary increased slowly, but expenses increased faster. He feared losing his job, feared change, and feared risk. Rich Dad faced failures too. One of his businesses closed, and people laughed at him. But he stood strong. "Failure is a teacher," he told Ion. "Only those who try can fail, and only those who fail can grow. Education versus financial intelligence. Ion performed well in school and went to college. Poor Dad was proud. Now you are on the right path, he said. Rich Dad congratulated him too but added, degrees are good, but never stop learning about money. Ion noticed something strange. Many highly educated people struggled financially, while some less educated ones lived freely. That confused him at first, then motivated him. The turning point after graduation, Ion got a good job offer. Poor Dad was overjoyed. This is security, he said. But Rich Dad asked, what will you do with your salary? Ion replied, I will save first. Rich Dad nodded, good. But also invest. Buy assets that create income. Ion started small, saving money, learning skills, and investing carefully. He failed sometimes, but he remembered Rich Dad's words and didn't quit. 2 lives, 2 outcomes. Years later, poor Dad retired. His pension was small, and life became difficult. He had worked hard all his life but depended on others for support. Rich Dad, however, slowed down not because he was tired, but because he didn't need to work anymore. His assets supported him. One evening, all 3 sat together. Poor Dad sighed and said, I wish I had learned what he knew. Rich Dad replied kindly, it's never too late to change thinking. Ion's realization. Ion finally understood the greatest lesson: poverty and richness begin in the mind. It was not about money alone, but about thinking, learning, and courage. He respected poor Dad for his honesty and discipline. He respected Rich Dad for his wisdom and vision. By combining lessons from both, Ion built a balanced life, educated, skilled, brave, and financially free. Moral of the story: education is important, but financial education is essential. Hard work alone is not enough. Smart thinking matters. Fear keeps people poor. Learning makes people free. True wealth is not money, but knowledge and mindset.